Welcome to the Take 148 podcast, produced by 148 Films. Join us as we explore video production, creative storytelling, and the real stories behind the lens.
About to get real good.
Joseph, welcome to 148 Studios.
Yeah.
It's like, I say that I don't say that every day because you're always the first one in the office. So like you say that to me when I walk through the door. But it's pretty wild to be sitting in the room that we took so much time demoing and then rebuilding, and here we are. So now we're practicing what we preach, recording your first podcast, right?
Yeah. This is my first time being in here and sitting at the bars on the bar stools, and
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, hey, we're gonna have a good time. So, quick introduction. Joseph Cochran is our director of photography, right?
Master director of photography.
My apologies, sir. Master director of photography. All right. So, for the uninformed who hear photography and know that we do video, like, give us just a quick rundown. Like, why DP? Why director of photography? What does that mean? What does that translate to in your day-to-day responsibilities?
Yeah. So being a DP, director of photography, is just an industry standard term that basically dictates the roles of the guy behind the camera. Sometimes you'll have directors of photography who aren't actually like in Hollywood. Oftentimes, like, they won't be the actual camera op, but they're the guy who is like in charge of the visuals. So they're working with the director closely for things like shot list, just kind of playing out what those visuals look like and how the scene flows and everything.
Okay. We're going to put a pin in that because I want to get back to more of that. But with Skip and Idris before you, I've done this thing that we're going to call pre-production research. Just a little pre-production research on Joseph. So kind of quick fire questions here. First one is, what is the last full book that you read?
I've been working on one book for like the last year, and I'm so close to finishing it. So I wish I could say that one. But the last book that I read probably would have been an audiobook.
Okay.
The Church Impotent by Leon Puddles, I think is his name.
Okay.
Just a book about faith.
Would you recommend that
I would.
to anybody?
Yeah, it's a book about the role of men in church and how that's been steadily declining. And he gives some theories as to why that is. So it's a very fascinating read.
I'm going to put that on the list.
Yeah.
I like it.
You should.
You're on a road trip, stop at a gas station. What's the go-to drink and snack for Joseph Cochran?
So when I did a lot of weddings, my like go-to at the gas station before, like 8 hours of barely any water, no food, was always like a pastry and yeah, I know it's terrible. A pastry and like a Starbucks frap. Yeah. Not
Sugar
healthy.
Rush.
Not healthy. I don't recommend, but
Wow.
it gets you through the day.
Yeah, just the sugar count on that. Okay. All right. If you could have lunch with anyone, living or dead, who would it be, and what would the conversation be about?
That's a good one. I feel like George Washington. I feel like that would have just been cool.
Going way back.
Yeah, way back.
What would be your first question to George Washington?
I think it would have to do with like sort of the role of Christianity and God in our nation. Like, obviously not all of our founders were Christians, but George Washington was an outspoken Christian, and it would have just been about like, hey, how are you seeking to glorify God in setting up a country? Because I think that's a really prominent question for today, and just like the role of Christians throughout history and what that looks like in politics and everything. So it would probably be something like that.
That sounds like it would be a long lunch.
Definitely.
No doubt a valuable one. Are there any fun facts that people might be surprised to know about Joseph Cochran? Maybe something I don't even know.
I saw that on the email that you sent out, and I thought long and hard about that. I mean, it really just depends on like the context of like how you know me, but probably like my love for classical music or hockey, one of those.
Because they're both so closely related.
Yeah, hockey players are known for loving some Vivaldi.
Yeah, I don't feel like I would show up to a hockey game and hear any classical music over the PA.
You wouldn't. It doesn't exist.
Maybe you should get a little chamber group to show up at your weekly Chattanooga roller hockey
Yeah.
games and
Play
see
like walkout themes.
the starting lineup.
Oh, that'd
Yeah,
be great.
I think you should work on that.
Yeah.
It could go viral. I love it. Last thing, are there any daily habits that keep you grounded and are just a consistent thing for you?
That is a good question. I feel like I know it's really small, but like just spending time with my wife in the evening, it's always so refreshing and rejuvenating. And I'm one of those guys where like when I come home, I'm pretty depleted and like just a little done. But after I get some food in me and just take the time to relax for a little bit, whenever we sit on the couch and just catch up and read the Word together and pray, it's always just like really, really life-giving. And it doesn't matter what my mood is whenever I come home at first. Like after spending some time with her and everything, like usually I'm pumped about life after that. So
There's no better answer than that. That's great. You can't replace time with anything else.
yeah,
Like once it's gone, it's gone.
yeah,
And especially with your loved ones.
definitely. And like I'm sure you can relate to this too. Like living alone for a little while, like it's so easy to kind of like get in your own head, I think, and so easy to just like if you're prone to depression or anything like that, like just kind of like let that run. But when you have that accountability and when you have that spouse, someone who's investing in loving you and showing you affection in that way, like it's so encouraging and can lift your spirits. So
I love it.
yeah.
All right, let's go all the way back to the beginning. Little Cochran, like what did life look like for Joseph growing up? What were you into? What were your passions? What was life like? What was the family dynamic? Give us a little glimpse into the early years of Joseph.
Oh man, the early years were fun. Sometimes I wish I could go back to them still.
Right?
Yeah. So I'm one of 7 kids, and I'm dead middle. So honestly, things like this, like just having a conversation with no one else to kind of like back me up, has always been a little terrifying. Because I'm used to having like 4 or 5 siblings around me who are able to kind of like chime into the conversation as well. But no, life was great. I was homeschooled growing up, so pajamas all day.
Nice.
Not really, but sometimes. I'm told I had a very large imagination. So mom and dad, when I was probably like, even as old as 7 or 8, they thought that I might have some hearing like disabilities or something because they would call my name like at times and I'd be like playing or whatever and they try to get my attention and it just like I just didn't hear them. But we quickly learned I didn't have any hearing problems. It was just I was so into like this world that I had created in my own mind that I was completely oblivious to reality. So
It's not a bad place to live when you make your living as a creative, right?
it comes in handy every now and then.
There's definitely healthy boundaries, left and right of that. But I can totally understand, where your creative spark comes from, right? Like, do you feel like, and I'm jumping ahead here, but like, do you feel like that root of creativity has very much like continued even into your adult life? A lot of times as adults, we kind of like lose that spark, or at least the ability to be as imaginative as a younger child. Like my daughter comes up with ideas and like drawings, and she writes things, and I'm just like, I feel like I probably did that once upon a time. I just no longer, That no longer comes to me. It's difficult to go that route sometimes. Like, do you feel like you live very much in that childlike, imaginative state as a adult creative?
Yeah, not completely. But I will say I have noticed like whenever I create more time to like just like do nothing and kind of like let my mind wander or like take some time with the family. Like usually when I'm not like working on a project or trying to meet a specific deadline, that's when I notice the creativity coming out the most. Is kind of in times where there's not much going on, when I'm allowing myself to kind of like get bored, you know. So no, it's not something where it's like I'm just constantly imagining things or getting creative. It's more like I try to work on my projects day in and day out, and most of the time the creativity is not there. But usually, if I can find some time to just like let boredom sort of let my mind wander, that's usually when the creative spark comes back, and usually I'm doing something wild. So
Okay. So as a kid growing up, what were those like creative outlets or those passions that you really felt attracted to? Like, what were those activities that like you could really point to and say, yeah, those are the things that have led me to like this place in my creative journey today?
yeah, I think I think music is huge for just working that creative side of your brain. And so violin, saxophone, my family was very musical, still are, and I know that's had to have helped and contributed. When I was about 10 or 11, I and I don't really know what prompted this, but I wanted to get all of my cousins together and put on a play. I have no idea why, but
Did you write the play?
I think so. I think
Okay.
so. It's very foggy now, but I had a large family, lots of cousins very nearby, and every Thanksgiving we would just have this massive Thanksgiving. All of this family come in from out of town, and so I wanted to put on a Thanksgiving play. Did that one year. I'm sure everybody laughed, found it hilarious, whatever. But a couple years after that, I would think it was like 13, and that creative spark sort of manifested itself in me wanting to do the play again, but in the medium of film and video. So I had an
Okay.
iPod Touch, like rounded up all the cousins, like 5-year-olds and whatever, and I, played director and DP and was like, "Hey, do this." Wrote the script, and everybody just thought it was so funny that Thanksgiving, when they're watching like 5-year-olds pretend to be, these historic Thanksgiving Day characters. But for me, that really, I think, was the spark that that's what really ignited sort of my career into filmmaking, because I did it and I absolutely loved it. I loved the shooting of it, loved like all of the sort of hectic last minute logistics of like, oh, I've got to find a costume for this person. I've got to like, figure out what this scene looks like. Where's the camera pointing, that sort of thing. And then even in the editing side, like the fact that I could like add sound effects that weren't originally captured,
Yeah.
like after the fact, like just blew my mind as a 13-year-old. And I think from that moment on, I was pretty hooked, and that was photography, videography. That was pretty much my creative outlet from that point on. So
Does that video live today?
I'm not going to answer that.
I was really hoping we could share it with the audience, but we'll have to work on that. We'll have
Well,
to dig that up.
I'll say this: it lives on the interwebs, but
Oh.
I'm not going to give you any clues as to where to find it. So
All right. Let the scavenger hunt ensue to our listening audience.
yes.
All right. So it sounds like you can very definitively point to a moment in time that has led you to this point. So talk about like what were the next steps in like solidifying that love of cinema, that filmmaking, photography, like what was the next big step, like the purchase of your own camera, or taking a class, or going to I don't know, a camp, or what was that next big step for
Yeah,
you?
my family and I would go to a family conference every year in the summer that we really enjoyed, and they had a photography class, and so I was starting to like I was leaning that direction and like enjoying that already, and so mom and dad decided to enroll me in that, and it was just so much fun. Like had a blast. It was event coverage, so we'd have like little workshops throughout the day, and then we'd actually be able to go out and sort of implement that. Um, and then we'd come back, we'd like edit our photos, and then review them, and we'd get like some critique and feedback from everybody else, and the the team aspect, the technical aspects of photography, as well as the creative, were things that I really enjoyed. And I don't know that I've shared this with you before, Daniel, but I like when I first started out, I was actually, I mean, this is probably a little harsh, but I stunk when it came to like the creative side. Like I didn't have an eye. I never really had an eye for like what a beautiful image was. That was something that I've really had to develop over the years. But what first attracted me uh, to the camera, let's say, was the technical components.
Mm.
And it's funny because I feel like nowadays I'm like the weakest on some of the technical things, and probably stronger on like the more abstract creative aspects of the craft. But at the very beginning, it was like I like learning about shutter speed and what how that affected an image, and things like that. Like that's what I really got into.
Yeah, I think you and I have talked about this before, but like the deeper you get into the world of photography and filmmaking, like there are people that you can very easily identify as those that are like creative leaning, and those that are very technically
Yeah.
minded.
Right.
And like in our world, it's ideal to have both of
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to know. Certainly, the creativity has to be there
Yeah.
in order to make engaging, inspiring content, right? But like the technical know-how is critical if your shots are going to be exposed and colored correctly, and depth of field works out, and
Right.
all
Right.
that. So like the longer I've interacted with people in our industry, the more I see a lot of people who are fine getting to a point technically because they understand their equipment, and then they really just go double down on the creative side because, at the end of the day, you've I wouldn't say you've mastered the technical, but you can make that piece of equipment do what you need it to do, and you could get lost in tech specs all day long, right? Like
Right.
there's probably a whole lot more I can't tell you about my camera than that I can, but I also know how to make it do what I need it to do. And I've learned to be comfortable in that because like
Yeah.
technology is always changing.
That's
I mean,
true. True.
we've all grown up in a mostly digital only worlds, but even in the digital world, like things have changed so much. So to try to stay on top of technical trends, and we're good at what we do creatively. We make that tech, work in our favor, and it's exciting to see what new stuff comes on the market. But
Yeah. But the technical, to your point, the technical is only as valuable as long as it's serving the creative aspect, right? Like
absolutely,
if you know how to do all sorts of things technically, but like you don't have the creative eye for it or whatever, it's like it's cool, but it's not really serving a greater purpose.
and you certainly don't want to lose momentum on the creative side of a project because you're lost in the technical weeds of that same project.
Right.
So like there's definitely a nice give and take there. But
Yeah.
it sounds like we just created a conversation for another podcast.
I think so.
All right. So do you remember your first paid gig that involved a camera?
I do.
Tell
I do.
tell us about it.
Yeah. So it was. So I think it was about 17 or 18 at the time, and I had been working to actually pay for my first full frame Canon camera, which was the 60 Mark II. It was used, smelled like smoke, but I was just so ecstatic to have it because it was full frame and it's what I wanted. So I think I had just gotten that, which was like a couple $1,000, I want to say, like for this camera. So I'd saved all this money, bought this camera, and my first paid gig, so ecstatic. It was $100, and it was for a 1-year-old's birthday party. But it was a little more creative than that. So the parents of this child, they wanted to write her a letter for when she was older, and like just like bless their child and talk about what she meant to them and all of that. And so I showed up at their house during like golden hour. Like we got some beautiful footage of them with their lovely daughter. Got some footage of them like writing this letter and then like voicing it over. And then I actually went to the birthday party and captured a 1-year-old's birthday party. So
Wow.
Yeah.
As a teenager.
Yeah.
With a full frame camera.
Yeah. Not exactly the gig you would expect, but it was fun.
Hey, for $100
For $100.
and the rest is history.
Yep.
That's pretty wild. So tell me, like, what were the follow-up gigs to that? Like, what did the early years of Joseph and a camera,
Yeah.
cameraman for hire look
Right.
like?
So I knew that weddings isn't exactly where I wanted to live, like long-term wise, but weddings are just like they're easy to get into, and for me, I just wanted as much experience as I could. So I'm pretty sure from there, I reached out to some other wedding videographers in the area, tried to apprentice with them, and try to get as much experience, working with people who were better than me as I possibly could. And then on the side, I'd honestly just look for anything that caught my fancy that I wanted to create. And I'd show up, do it pro bono, and say, hey, I'm a young guy looking for experience. Can I film this? And usually they'd say, yeah. So working for a local disc golf company is actually where I met Idris Garcia for the first time. And I showed up at a local disc golf tournament, was like, hey, can I capture this? They said, absolutely. So I did that. And then they liked the video. And about a year later, I think it took them about a year, they reached back, and I started doing a lot more disc golf work. But it was pretty much like events, weddings at first, and then slowly transitioned to lots of sports, disc golf kind of content. And then the weddings were fairly consistent on the side at that point. But after that, it was 148.
Okay. Would you say through that period there was anyone in particular that you might refer to as a mentor, or somebody that really kind of gave you guidance and direction on the craft?
Yeah, definitely. I really wouldn't be the creator that I am today if it wasn't for people like Jameson Brawley, Axel Marshall, a couple of local wedding videographers in the area. They were so kind and so honestly gracious and patient with me. Like looking back at it, I don't know if some random teenager hit me up. I don't know that I would take them on, but they took me on, and yeah, I owe a lot to those guys.
That's great, because there's just no replacement for a mentor figure like that.
Yeah.
Whether or not they realize it, I mean, they do now if they're listening to this. But that's a beautiful relationship when you can kind of pour into the next generation, the up and coming, crowd, as it were.
It's huge.
Yeah. So now fast forward, you're here on the team at 148 Films. For you, like, what is it about coming to work every day that gets you so excited?
As a freelancer, as sort of a cowboy freelancer, if you will, you're so limited because you're one man trying to do it all. And so when I took the job at 148, the thing that I was just so ecstatic about was being on a team with people who knew more than me, people who had skills that were more specialized, um, and just the just the thrill of working with multiple people, whether that be on set, in a pre-production meeting, like many minds coming together for one great purpose, one great aim. Um, that that always gets me so excited, um, and so I love just being a cog in a greater machine that's actually making something awesome.
I love that. And that's been the common answer when I talked to Idris. That was the same. That was the same thing. So
Wow.
yeah, we've got a lean, mean team here, and I think we complement each other quite well. So
Yes.
it's fun to work together every day. All right, so we've got a great team here. You love working with the team. Everybody's got their expertise, their nuance, and together those cogs make this beautiful, final video production piece. Now that you've like got this team around you on a project as the DP, like what are those creative processes for you? Like what does a creative process look like for you when Skip says, "Hey, we've got this client, and I'm trying to think of something. Keep it generic. Somebody we worked with recently. Hey, we've got a client that sells playgrounds, and now they want to take the next step in a brand feature piece. So like what does your creative process look like when you get a task like that?
Yeah. I think that one of the most important things for me, and I'm still learning how to do this better and better with each project, but would really be just like getting inside the director's mind and figuring out what is the end goal, and what's the tone and the vision of the project, because it's easy to like start trying to create a shot list and to like imagine all of these like beautiful shots or whatever, or even camera moves, um, but if they don't serve the greater purpose of like what is this video trying to communicate and what is it trying to do, then they're all for naught. So I think for me, creatively, it's sitting in a room with Skip, the director, and whoever else is involved, and figuring out exactly like, okay, what are we trying to communicate here? Who's our audience? Where is this going to live? That sort of thing, so that I can go from there and actually create visuals that complement and accompany that, and serve that aim visually, as opposed to the visuals and let's say a voiceover script or on camera dialogue. So that way those two elements of like story and visuals, they're not competing, but they're actually in unison. And so I think that's probably one of my greatest challenges with on the pre-production side of a project, but it can also be one of the most rewarding ones if you get it right.
Absolutely. That was quite the answer. I love it. If any project could come across your desk tomorrow, or technically since this is Friday, if any project could come across your desk, we'll say tomorrow, what would you hope that project would look like? What is Joseph Cochran's dream DP project?
There are just so many.
I knew that door was
Yeah.
flown open wide.
Yeah. So I really wanna work on a feature one day. Probably not anytime super soon. Um, me and a buddy are we're gonna get together soon though, and start working on a short films. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if we actually get that done this year. But if there was any project, like it'd probably fall into something in that category, of narrative filmmaking, or in the action sports world. I love hockey, and being able to capture something something like that would be really cool. I also love classical music, so uh,
Hockey and classical music
hockey and classical music.
and a camera.
Yeah, anything in those two worlds, I'd be all for.
Okay. I love it. Well, Joseph, you're a man of many hats. Like I said earlier, I think there's probably opportunity to talk about a lot of different things, but I'll wrap it all up here. Where do you see our world in video production going, like in the next 5 to 10? You know, right here, we're on the cusp of a new, call it revolution, maybe, with artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people are concerned about it. Some of us in the creative world are concerned about it. Others are excited about the prospect of the power that it holds in helping us do things better, being better managers, obviously being better creators. And there's a slippery slope there too. But like maybe AI side or include AI. But like, you know, where do you see things going in our world in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think AI will be a blessing and a curse, but I think one of the ways in which it can potentially be a blessing is like some of the lower level projects that we get hit up for all the time that are they're valuable to a particular company, but they're not necessarily very rewarding for us. As creators, I think a lot of those kinds of things AI is going to be able to replace, and so in that way, definitely a blessing for a lot of people who make a substantial, where that those kinds of projects make up a substantial part of their business. I think obviously for them it's a curse, but no, I'm really excited about the future of filmmaking. I think if you just look at all of the technological revolutions we've had as far as camera equipment goes and stuff, I think it really is enabling the individuals and independent film companies to actually compete with some of the big dogs, which I'm all here for. I've got a brother-in-law who was into filmmaking years and years ago, and this would have been, I think, right on the cusp of like digital. So things were now digital, but that was still very new. You had to wait 20 hours to let things render, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
You remember those days.
I remember those days.
So he was into filmmaking in that time, and I'm trying to remember how much money he raised for his own particular project. It was a good bit. It wasn't it wasn't in the millions or anything like that, but he raised a good bit of money for the project, and because technology was the way that it was back then, they were so limited just by sheer cost as to what they could actually do. Whereas I think today we're not nearly as limited, and we can actually kind of compete with some of these Hollywood setups. And so I'm very excited for that. I think that's going to enable a lot more independent Christian film companies to get out there and create their own stories that are healthy stories to munch on, and I think it's really going to bless a lot of people. So I'm just anxious, or I'm not anxious, very excited though for the future of the industry.
I love it. Great answer. Is there anything that we've not talked about, that we've not addressed, that you're just dying to share with everyone?
No, I think this has been more than enough. So thank you for roping me in to doing this, Daniel.
Hey, thank you for agreeing to step into the octagon here, put on the headphones, and have a little conversation.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to sitting down again. We'll dive deep into topics. We'll probably look into things like storytelling and get a little deeper into like the mind of Joseph and how you get into building a storyboard and shot list, and we'll see.
Let's do it.
Some great opportunities to talk. So thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to next time.